Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
And Ted is not with us today. Grant, it seems like you have been so busy lately with all the craziness going on, and you got a new job, and you have a new addition to the family, and, I'm sure that's crazy. I know how that goes, so... Congratulations, the first time I get to congratulate you on the air for being a grandfather, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, she's already got us wrapped around her little finger. But no, it's good.
That's great. And Ted, I don't know where Ted's moving. Man, the whole Card Talk crew is going through a significant amount of change right now. So it's in the past 6 months, it seems like there's so much going on. So
get it right. For the past year,
yeah,
we've been going through so much change.
I know, maybe even longer since I was doing last year's superlative February in the basement of my in-laws' house. I don't know.
Well, that as well.
Oh man, the memories. We should do a retrospective show for this year's February, but who knows? Well, for everybody out there, we're Card Talk, and we have a blog. If you're interested in reading the reviews that Matt writes over at the blog is also celebrating a year over there. So Matt's been putting out articles left and right. It's kind of our blog extravaganza month, so good for Matt doing something almost every day. So, and that's crazy good for him. I've been trying to help a little bit, but I don't know. He doesn't need my help. And then we have Second Breakfast, which is our live video playthrough series, which is coming back, I think, next Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we have an email if you want to get a hold of anybody that's related to the Card Talk staff. If you're not posting on making comments and stuff, we have cardtalk2018@gmail.com. And then we have our Patreon, which is which we use to kind of give back to the community. We, give out swag, and we do all sorts of crazy things. So if you want to become a patron, you're a little late this year for our big swag, but you can always become a patron, help for hosting fees and things like that. So our Patreon is www.patreon.com/cardtalk2018. All that information is right over there.
And you can also find one on Discord.
I keep forgetting that we have a modest Discord channel, so we're over on Discord too. That's about everything, except for today's card. And Grant, I feel like you have today's card. You know which one it is.
Yep, we are going right back to the Black Riders for an attachment of the leadership sphere for 1 cost. It is an item called Hobbit Cloak, attached to a Hobbit hero, limit 1 per hero. Attached hero gets +2 defense while defending against an attack made by an enemy with an engagement cost higher than your threat. In their dark cloaks, they were invisible as if they all had magic rings, the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah. This is very timely that we're talking about this, because they just released the new Fellowship of the Ring saga box that's coming out, which for experienced or veteran players, that's the first 2. That's the Road Darkens and Shadow of the Past and the Road Darkens. They put it together in one box. They're calling it the Fellowship of the Ring. Really lean into the book there, so that's pretty cool. But the Hobbit Cloak, Grant, what's your take on the Hobbit Cloak?
I like the Hobbit Cloak. It's a very good attachment for if you're running a low-threat Hobbit deck. Can make your Hobbit heroes quite a stalwart defender.
Yeah, I I agree. Actually, I'm going to say that this is one of the most frustrating attachments that I know of in the game, because you only get the bonus when you're defending an enemy with an engagement cost higher than your threat, which is the typical Hobbit thing. But when you have, like when you're in the 30s, your threat's in the 30s or something, and you know, I played this all throughout the Saga campaign, and have just like, you know, when it works, it's great. Like Sam loves this, makes Sam such a beefy defender. It's in sphere for him. But when it doesn't trigger, you're like, oh, dang it. You know, and it's so frustrating because you don't get that bonus that most hobbits need and every hobbit wants. You know, there's very few hobbits that can survive an attack. I think Tom Cotton is the defendiest hobbit out there with 3 defense. I think Tom Cotton has 3 defense. I'm going off the top of my head here.
Yes, Tom Cotton has 3 defense.
He's 1133, right? So,
but what I will say is, Hobbit Cloak is not restricted.
It
So
is not.
You can have other defense attachments there with either hit point boosting or defense boosting effects.
Right. I always think thematically like chainmail. I'm going to my D&D days here. Ringmail, which is a card. It's a tactics card that gives a hobbit or a dwarf 1 defense and 1 hit point. That's always nice, and I feel like that's how it's like you get the ringmail, and then you get the Hobbit Cloak on top of it, and I feel like you've just outfitted your hobbit pretty well.
And don't forget your boots of Erebor.
Your boots from Erebor, right? Going back to like episode number 4, I still like boots of Erebor, but I can see what people are saying. But I still like the boots from Erebor. 0 cost, extra hit point. You know, you can't go wrong for that. You know, the fact that it's limited to Hobbit heroes, I mean, from a purely functional standpoint, not from a thematic standpoint. Of course, the Hobbit Cloak can only go on Hobbit heroes, right? But from a purely functional standpoint, it would be really nice if there was a way to give something like this to Sylvans, because I feel like Sylvans are also not very defendy. And that would be another good target for an attachment like this, if not this particular attachment. But
they do have the Grey Cloak.
They do.
Is it the Grey Cloak? The one that gives you +2 in Forest.
It's the Cloak of It's the Cloak of Lorien.
That's the one.
Yeah. I mean, but that's very similar. Where I don't know. But you're right. I had forgotten about the Cloak of
Hobbits, Friend of Friends, with 2 Hobbit heroes. Then you have Ringmail. Then you have Sting. Then you have Hobbit Cloak, Boots of Erebor, Spare Pipe.
Right. All of a sudden, yeah. I mean, and to be honest, well, I guess with Hobbits, Friend of Friends can only go on Hobbits. Hobbit Cloak can only go on Hobbits. Spare Pipe can go on anybody. Sting can only go on Hobbits. So, you know, there's a lot of those nice attachments that can go on Hobbits. But, I mean, when you're doing that, Ringmail can go on Dwarves and Hobbits. So let's see. By the time you have all of that, Friend of Friends is, let's just do defense, since Hobbit Cloak is just defense here. So that's +2 Hobbit Cloak plus another 1. That's 3 for Friend of Friends. Another 1 for Sting. That's 5. That's 4. Another 1 for Ringmail. That's 5. And then plus 2 hit points. So, I mean...
Yeah. 3 with Boots of Erebor?
Oh, I forgot the boots from Erebor, right. You know, so, yeah. So, I mean, you can tower up a really good Hobbit character. But that's the problem, again, functionally playing with Hobbits, is that they're fun to play kind of without stuff, because they're very low threat. They're secrecy. You can kind of sneak them around. They're tricksy. But in order for Hobbits to really do well across the board in a lot of scenarios, you know, unfortunately, or I mean, I don't know, you just need to get a lot of these tools and toys on them. And this is another one. And so you end up using all your deck space, even if you just have like one or two Hobbit. I guess if you're, I don't know, like, I guess that's the thing. Like, if you're going to play a Hobbit deck, like, that's what you do. And you put you put these cards in the Hobbit deck because that's what you need. But I don't know.
Well, it also depends on what type of Hobbit deck you're playing. If you're playing Hobbit Swarm, then you probably won't be playing.
Is there a Hobbit Swarm deck though?
Well, okay, Hobbit
kind of.
support.
No, I know.
Okay,
I mean, it's. But
rather than the Hobbits being on the front line with, say, Sam and Tom Cotton, you could have a support Hobbit deck which maybe utilizes Smoke and Think and the Red Book.
Yeah, I mean, there is that Hobbit support deck, I guess, that's like a pipe deck with Bilbo and, the MOTK, the Robin Smallborough, that's lore spirit. That's smoke rings.
I mean, I've recently been playing a lot of Hobbit decks with some of the stuff from A Long Extended Party.
Mm-hmm.
And I've
with a really functional Fatty Bulger for once. Good job, Alep.
Well, actually, no. This one uses I'll pull it up because
there's Knob and Bob. Those
guys it uses Knob. It utilizes I'll pull it up because I've got it right here. Dex uses Spirit Merry, Leadership Frodo, and Knob. And Frodo took engaged the Hummerhorns and took 5 damage and still lived.
Well, Frodo can do that anyways, right?
This was Leadership Frodo, not Spirit
Frodo. Okay. Sorry.
So yeah, that was a fun game. You could probably find it on the Wandering Took's channel because it was one of his Twitch streams, and it was Passage Through Mirkwood for the revised campaign.
Okay.
And I used the same deck going right the way through from Passage Through Mirkwood to Escape from Dol Guldur. And I've got to say, I had a lot of fun playing this deck through those 3 quests. And I have a lot of fun playing it outside those quests. It's just overall a fun little deck that I threw together. But it doesn't really have many Hobbit tricks in it. As we were, it doesn't have the Hobbit Cloak. It has Rosie. It has Build a Pony. It has Hobbit Pipes and Hobbit Pony. And it's got a fair bit of threat reduction in the forms of like the Gladrum's Greeting and what have you. But this is all about getting out like willpower. So it's got stuff like the Arkenstone, the Silver Circlet, the Red Book of Westermarch, Glorfindel and Sam, Treebeard for a bit of defense if I need it. And it's all about it's just like willpower on the board, and then you get the Arkenstone, and then you're like, okay, now I'm questing for 30. But no, it's a fun little deck, and I mean, starting off with 20 threat, I already start off and I start with a little bit of secrecy, and with the amount of threat reduction I've got, because I've got 3 with Gladrum's Greeting, 6 with Shire Folk, plus the fact of having Merry and Frodo, right. I'm pretty much staying in secrecy.
Right. Yeah. Well, what about getting back to the, well, not what about, let's get back to the card. I mean, like Hobbit Cloak, I think it's nice because it fits into like the Burglar's Turn, which is, I think, thematic because Burglar's Turn, you can only have items and artifacts. If you're going to put a 3 Hunters deck together with Hobbits, it's not as good, but it's nice to boost the defense of the hero, but it doesn't count as one of your restricted attachments. So, there's a give or take give and take going on there when you're using this guy with contract play. Where else does this guy fit in? Like when you're building decks?
It fits thematically for the hobbits themselves, because hobbits are naturally stealthy. In the books, it's described that they can hide from sight, if they wish to. So them being able to, for want of a better word, vanish from sight with these hobbit cloaks, not the cloaks that they got from Lorien later on, but just in general, the hobbit cloak helps keep them from unwanted eyes.
Right.
And I think that's what the +2 defense signifies, that they can hide with, like, they can be unseen if they choose to.
Right. If as long as they're not getting attacked, if somebody's not looking for them, right?
Essentially, yeah.
If they're trying to look for somebody, if you optionally engage somebody, I always feel like that's you attacking them, even though the game attacks them first, attacks whoever first, it's still you choosing to attack that person, like, as opposed to things that just come down. Yeah. I mean, it's a shame because, a lot of the conversation around cards that we talk about are like what kind of decks, what kind of combos that this goes with. But I think that this is, as long as you have the resource match, I feel like this goes into any deck. You're not limited, or you don't have to worry about its cost. It's one cost. It's cheap. Like I said, it's an item. You can switch it around using Long Lake Trader if that's something you're into. I don't know if you do that, but
the only limitation is that it's got to be a Hobbit hero,
and not a Hobbit character. A lot of the cards that were developed later on ended up becoming Hobbit characters, which I think helped the archetype, but even better. But I don't know.
So you keep that in mind when moving it around with Long Lake Trader. The condition for Hobbit hero is still in play.
What else? What else do you have about this?
It's great artwork.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit. Let's transition here. So, first of all, does this card represent what a Hobbit cloak is in the literature?
Well, by the looks of it, it's when I'd take this as when Sam and Frodo are spying, quote unquote, on the elves just before they get seen by Gildor.
Right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Of their adventure out of the Shire. Right?
Yeah. I would say that's roughly when this is. Either that or it's probably much later on, probably on the road to off the top of my head, Ithilien.
I was going to say Ithilien, yeah. That's what I get the impression too. But the forest is a little dense here, so
yeah,
I don't know.
It could be the old forest from not by the Shire.
Yeah, could be.
Which is probably where I'll put this at.
Yeah.
But thematically, I think it works because you've got them there hunched over. If you saw that from behind, you'd probably just think it's a moss-covered rock.
Right.
If the bit of arm wasn't sticking out.
Right. Yeah, and I think the card does really represent what a Hobbit Cloak does. There's not really a way for this for a character in the game to go unseen unless it's like, attached hero, attached the owner of the hero doesn't make engagement checks or something, but that would just be way too crazy. So, I think that this is a great way to represent, what a Hobbit cloak is. It gives them more defense, which isn't necessarily exactly what the cloak is. It's not like a suit of armor or anything, but it's giving them more options to not, take damage from an enemy, really is what I think is what it's doing.
If you take defense as two different things, it could be evasiveness from the enemy, or it could be like physical defense, like a suit of armor, where
like Baragon.
Yeah. So if you take the Hobbit's cloak's defense as evasiveness, you could potentially say that the cloak is actually doing what it's meant to do. It's helping you evade your enemies by keeping them hidden from sight.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And then the artwork, you went into pretty good detail on this. This is artwork. I like it. It's it's photorealistic. I think that there's a lot of good detail in the actual artwork itself. This could also be when they were trying to avoid being seen by the Black Riders on the
road.
On the road, the movie portrays it one way, but I know the book portrays it a completely different way. So, I don't know. But yeah, I think the artwork is fine. It's not awesome. I don't think. I think it's. Let me say this. I think the artwork is awesome, but I don't think that this is one of those cards that is a statement piece card that you're going to put in a deck like Eowyn or so. I think the art is great, but I don't think that you play this because the art is awesome, because it's just a Hobbit Cloak. So I don't know. Anyways, should we ring this guy?
Sure.
Okay. So if anybody doesn't remember or doesn't know, we have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system where we rank a card on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the one card to rule them all, or one of the best cards in the game, and a 10 is the card that we throw back in the fiery chasm from whence it came. Thanks, Phil. I hope you're still listening, Phil. That came right from him, one of our very first patrons. Thank you so much. But if you rank it a 10, it's one of those cards that you just don't like very much.
Brock Iron Fist.
Right, Brock Iron Fist. So, Grant, what do you got?
I'm going to rate this a 4.
4, okay.
It's good in a Hobbit deck, but it may not necessarily fit every Hobbit deck. So, a 4.
Okay.
Just a little bit better than middle of the road.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go the other way with it. I've definitely built Hobbit decks without Hobbit Cloak, although I really like Hobbit Cloak. Couple this with the Staff of Lebethron, and you really have a great defender in Sphere for just 2 leadership resources. We didn't talk about the staff at all, but but I also know that I don't necessarily have to use Hobbit Cloak in order to be successful. Plus the fact that it's limited in its use, it only goes on Hobbit heroes. That's always kind of a negative in my book. I love my hobbits, but again, when I rank cards, I try to rank them thinking about how they inspire me to build a deck, or when I start a deck, I'm like, ooh, this is fun. Let's see how this goes. But I feel like this is just kind of one of those utilitarian cards that's good, but not 100% necessary. So I'm going to actually go, I'm going to go just the other side of this. And I'm going to say it's a 6. Even though I want to give it a 3 in the Hobbit deck, I don't know. I think the Hobbits have come far enough where you don't need a Hobbit Cloak to do things in a Hobbit deck. So I'll stick with my 6. I have to be tougher on the Hobbits anyways because, I'm such a Hobbit fan. So, well, everybody, that's it for Hobbit Cloak. Don't forget, we have our blog and we have Second Breakfast, and we have our Patreon. Join us, take a look at us, and we'll see you next week as we talk about more cards in the game. Have a great day, everybody.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.